Human overpopulation might be one of the world's leading issues today because of all the environmental problems it causes, including droughts, deforestation, and overfishing. In 1967, we used to have only 3 billion people in this world, but in the last 48 years, we've gained about 4 billion people more and now have 7.125 billion people. So it's growing at a very fast rate, and something has to be done about that. So we know that Earth has very limited resources, and one thing that the Earth has a problem with is droughts, and we're facing that all over the world, and people are dying every day from thirst and hunger, and especially farmers who a lot of droughts play a lot of threats for farmers. So all their crops, because of all the droughts that are happening, crops are withering and dying, and the food prices are skyrocketing because the more people in the world we have, the more food we'll need to support everyone. So, and a lot of farmers, since all the droughts are causing food to wither, they switch to corn in order to produce biofuels, because that's another thing that humans need. Also, in California, which is another place going over a lot of drought problems, they don't have enough water supply to support the amount of people that are living there, and more people are moving to California every day. So another thing is deforestation, where it's clearing large areas of land to harvest for timber and also to make land for humans. And we've already cleared 1/2 of the original world's forest from our world, and we're getting rid of a lot of the living space that there is for animals out there. So basically we're clearing the forest and their habitat and leaving them with nowhere to go, just for our recreational use for schools and our housings, and just wood for our use too. So also cutting down all those trees is very bad for the environment because it releases a lot of CO2, and that's a big problem with climate change, and also another huge issue, which is global warming. So next, another problem that's going on because of so many people in the world is overfishing, because a lot of people depend on fishing as their main method of consumption, and a lot of species are in danger because we fish them in mass amounts for food, and the more people we have, the more demand there is for fish. So they said eventually at this rate, somewhere down the road, there will be just no food left in the ocean for us to eat, and we just won't have any seafood. It'll just be like food we can't even eat in the oceans. And a lot of people depend on it for their incomes and everyday food, and they can't keep up with the reproduction rate in order to reproduce for us to eat too. So what's being done right now is we need to try to prevent the amount of birth there is, although only because there's so many unwanted pregnancies out there that aren't needed, and they don't want to have those pregnancies, and they don't have the resources in order to support them. That's what's causing, in a lot of third world countries, a lot of starvation and thirst, because they're uneducated or can't obtain birth control in order to prevent pregnancies, and they have children without being able to support them, and that leads a lot to the starvation and dying. So we need to educate people more and make it easier to obtain things such as birth control, so people aren't having unwanted pregnancies and having too many kids that we can't provide for. So there are more organizations that are being done so people can obtain more birth controls and condoms if they need to. And the government policies also have been done, such as China's one-child policy, where you can only have one child unless you pay a substantial fee, and then that's a big fee to pay, but you can have 2 children, because in China there's 1.357 billion people, and that's more than 1/7 of our population right now. So, and India is close behind, so they harvest the world's most people there. But China did recently change it to a 2-child policy, where they can have 2 children now. And another thing being done is trees are definitely being replanted everywhere. So our forests have been back and growing. And also, days that fishermen can go out has been a lot less. So fish have time to reproduce. And they also are given a quota, so they don't have to fish as many fish at a time. So in the end, we know it's easy to see that we need to limit our resources due to the rising population in order to protect our environment and the people living in it.